Hey there, quirky people. I'm your host, Anna, and I'm coming at you with another character exploration video. With the Blue Beetle movie heading our way, it's about time that we look at who this character is and why we need to be excited about the film. The first reason for that is the Cobra Kai actor Xolo Maridueña, who is playing Jaime Reyes, aka Blue Beetle. People love him on Cobra Kai, and he is totally fit to play the upcoming DC superhero. But who exactly is Blue Beetle, and what are his abilities? That's what we will find out in this video. But before that, it would be amazing if you guys would click on those like and subscribe buttons to support our channel. Now with that out of the way, let's start with the origin of Blue Beetle. DC has plenty of weird and interesting characters, and Blue Beetle is certainly one of them. His upcoming movie will surely give you Spider-Man vibes, because Jaime Reyes, who is a young teenager, gets attached to an alien scarab. But in the comic book mythos, there were two other versions of Blue Beetle before Jaime got his abilities. First came Dan Garrett, who was a beat cop in 1939's Mystery Men Comics issue number 1. At night, he'd put on a mask and a hat to become the Blue Beetle to fight crime as a vigilante. A year later, he gained super strength from a special vitamin and adopted a suit that looked more like the Blue Beetle that we know of. He returned again in 1964, but was totally revamped. This time, Dan Garrett became an archaeologist and gained his powers from a mystical scarab he found in Egypt. He would transform into the Blue Beetle by saying the words, Kajida. But his story only ran until 1966, and then a new version of Blue Beetle was introduced in Captain Atom issue number 83. His name was Ted Cord, and he was a scientific genius millionaire, who was an old colleague of the past Dan Garrett version. Ted didn't have any superpowers, but he had developed the high-tech Blue Beetle suit, a beetle-shaped flying machine, and multiple other gadgets to fight crime. He and his uncle worked on a top-secret experiment, but the evil uncle stole his formula and created an army of unstoppable soldiers to take over the world. So, Ted took the help of Dan Garrett, who died fighting the uncle and his evil army. In his dying moments, Garrett asked Ted to carry on the mantle of Blue Beetle, and so he did. But he didn't take on the scarab. He relied on his own tech and gadgets. But then in 1986, his origin story was once again altered slightly. And here, Dan Garrett was turned into his professor instead of his old colleague. Ted still fought crime in his high-tech beetle armor, while Garrett was aware that his scarab powers came from an Egyptian god. But years later in the present day, these two perished, and in came another holder of the Blue Beetle mantle, Jaime Reyes. He stumbled upon the ancient scarab that fused itself to Jaime's spine. He would give Jaime his powers by covering his entire body in a Blue Beetle armor. And guess what? The name of this scarab was Kajida, the same thing that Dan used to shout out when he transformed. But as it turns out, the scarab was of an alien origin, and it belonged to an alien species called the Reach. It infiltrated Earth to call its own people onto the planet. But the goodness in Jaime Reyes changed the scarab's motivations, and it ultimately fought against its own people. Now that we've covered his origin, let's talk about the powers of Blue Beetle. Covering up his body, the scarab provides Jaime with several superhuman abilities, such as flight through 2 extended wings and super strength. That's a pretty common combo with most superheroes, but the Blue Beetle armor is also next to impenetrable. So, his durability is pretty high, as it can also create shields. The armor prevents Jaime from hazardous environments and allows him to breathe underwater and even in space. It also allows Jaime to turn his hands into different tools such as claws, spiked maces, bladed weapons, and plasma cannons. These plasma cannons shoot powerful energy blasts, which makes Blue Beetle the coolest superhero there is. Jaime's armor can also create drones, but his best ability is energy absorption, which he can use to increase his own powers. So, Blue Beetle becomes unbeatable against energy attacks. Now before I end this video, I'm gonna leave you all with a few small scoops. Twitter scooper Divinity Seeker tweeted a whole thread which reveals a bunch of story details about the upcoming film. Spoiler warning just in case you don't want to know, but if you are interested, then here are the tweets. Susan Sarandon plays Victoria Cord, the sister of Ted Cord. She is the main villain of the film. Her daughter Jenny, who is played by Bruna Marquezine, is the love interest of Jaime. But apparently, she is the main reason why Jaime gets the scarab. Blue Beetle is another strong family movie that's headed our way. Let's just hope that it won't turn out to be another Shazam Fury of the Gods. Okay, that's all for now. Are you excited about Blue Beetle? Let us know in the comments. And once again, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed the video. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one.